Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm your host, Brewer31. Before we get going, a couple advertisements here. So if you go to the description of the video and you can see the link to our website, FSiDFS.com, we are doing free preseason football, which will start on Thursday. And for the next 3 weeks, I think it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So if you want to get into that, plus if you check out our website too for season long, we have a really nice price break for you. So get in on that early bird special if you're interested. The other commercial programming note is that on Thursday, believe it or not, we are going to hit our 500th MLB video. So to celebrate that, just tune in and we'll be having some giveaway. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be sponsoring any trips, but we'll be showing some appreciation for everybody that supported us and helped us continue to grow this to reach the 500 milestone. So tune in for that one on Thursday. Even if you miss it, just come back because we'll probably leave the window open for the drawing for a couple days after that. So check that out. So it is Tuesday. We have an 11-game slate. No weather concerns really, like Monday night with like the rain across we had some really bad storms in my area, tornadoes and stuff. So hopefully everybody's okay out there. Looks like maybe some precipitation here and there, but nothing that's even like really noteworthy. So let's jump into the slate. Pitching's kind of rough. Hitting's has got some decent spots. So let's look at it all. When you have 11-game slate, there's usually a lot of ways to go, so it shouldn't be too chalky of a night. So let's dive in and break it down. First game, we have Houston and Baltimore. Framber Valdez coming off of the no-hitter against Grayson Rodriguez. Valdez, I think he's okay here. The Orioles, even though they've had a really good season, aren't as good against left-handed hitting as they are right-handed hitting. But wind is blowing out 13 miles per hour in Baltimore, which is a pitcher's park because of they moved the walls back so significantly. And 83 degrees, so it's decent hitting weather. But I think Valdez is okay here. He gets the ball on the ground, and he didn't go too deep in his no-hitters. So I think if you want to pay up for pitching, he's definitely in play here. But I think most people will opt not to because they'll be scared off from the matchup and the price tag. Grayson Rodriguez on the other side is a YOLO play. There's not much value here. He's 6,900. He'll give up runs, but he also gets strikeouts. Houston is definitely healthy now. He's really starting to put things together here, getting ready for the playoffs. All in, trying to win another title. So I like him in a GPP here. I mean, there's probably about 5 to 6 teams like solid above them, but they're definitely in play. And I think the ownership will kind of be spread out. So it might be a decent ownership on them and might definitely help in tournaments. Baltimore, I love as a leverage stack here against Valdez. Just stick to righties pretty much. So Rutschman, Mountcastle, Santander, Hayes if he's back in the lineup. Even Gunner's not bad lefty on lefty. Weissman, or just wrap around with one of the cheap guys on the bottom if you were going all 5. Next up, Atlanta and Pittsburgh, Chirinos and Keller. Chirinos cast off for Tampa Bay. Atlanta picked him up because their pitching situation is just rough. 11-mile-per-hour wind blowing out here, but it is a pitcher's park. Pittsburgh came out and like hammered Strider. He only lost 2.2. I fade him because of the weather, so I'm kind of glad I didn't try to jam into my lineup, so that benefited from that last night. And I think Strider's okay. I think it's just a bad one. But Pittsburgh's going to be an up and down team here. They were good in the beginning of the season, and then they tried to contend, and then they slipped, and now they've pretty much I traded a couple guys off, called up a bunch of young guys. They're free swingers. So if you have a pitcher against them, they're going to garner a lot of strikeouts, but they're also going to potentially hit a lot of home runs and occasionally put some decent games together too. So there's not going to be any consistency here other than they swing at the ball and try to put it in play or hit it out of the park. They're not very patient hitters. They're not going to walk a lot. So Trinos I have is no interest. I mean, again, there's not much value here. So he doesn't go deep into games either. So this K upside is there, but I don't think I really need him. If you're mass multi-entering, I think you can consider him as an SP2 potentially. Keller, I'm not really touching. This Braves offense is just always elite. They're so expensive too. They're hard to stack, but if you want to play cheaper pitching and there are some ways with some of the cheaper stacks to get them in, but usually it's hard to get like the top 5 in. You usually have to play. I usually do a wraparound. It's easier on FanDuel with Harris because he's like only like 2.9 there compared to like the pricing on the other ones. So just figure out. And eventually you'd think that like Lopez might crack the lineup, or a couple of the other ones that they picked up at the trade deadline. But it seems like they play the same. The only thing that changes is Murphy and Diarno like switch off a catcher every so often, and everything else just seems like they have their lineup. They're happy with it, and they're ready to go. They're on cruise control, hopefully to playoff, no injuries, and hopefully it's be fun to watch them in October. Pittsburgh, again, if you just want to take some of the lefties here, Palacios might lead off. Reynolds a little expensive for the stack, but 4-3. But if like Swiskey is always good against right-handed pitching, Rivera's is not bad either. Like he's been leading off a lot, or in the 5-hole here potentially. He's a 2-2. He was a high prospect for the Cubs. Like came out last year and did decent. I don't know what happened. Like if he got Rule 5'd or DFA'd or traded or whatever, but he was definitely had a lot of potential. So there's another. You never really want to punt first base, but if you're trying some stuff, then keep them in mind there. Next up, we have the Royals and the Red Sox. Singer and Cutter Crawford. Singer hasn't been bad recently, but in Boston, the wind's blowing out 10 miles per hour. It's only going to be 80 degrees here. So, and in that park, wind definitely affects things. So, and it's pretty much an all left-handed lineup. So I'm not going to be touching Singer, even though Boston didn't show up until the end of the game. If you look at the box, you have to look at the full box score, because Boston only had like 2 runs until the bottom of the 9th when who was it? Was their second baseman that I liked against right-hander? Was it Pablo Lopez or somebody? He had a grand slam at the end of the game to give them the 6 runs, but they really were like held at in check. So the starting pitcher was against them yesterday. We'll have to keep in mind him in the future, because he might actually be decent. I believe he came over from Texas. So, but that's for another slate. So here, Singer, not really interested here. Cutter Crawford on the other side. I think he'll be popular. I think he's my second favorite in the medium range, because besides like Witt and Garcia, they're both righties against Cutter Crawford as a righty. There's really Perez, will have to see if he's back in the lineup. He was banged up. There's really not too much on this Kansas City team to be super frightened for, even though I have a 4.26 total. I think Cutter Crawford potentially could be in play here for in the medium range. And then the Boston bats are my favorite stack on the slate here. Duran, Yoshida, Turner, second base, eligibility is nice. Trevor Story should be back. I'm not going to play him until I actually see him do something. I think they've just kind of waited just because they put such an investment in him, but I think he's just going to be dust. I think he's done. I think like Mondesi is probably the future to their middle or infield here, and Urias from Milwaukee. I think that he's going to be a nice pickup there going forward, but we'll have to see. So give me left-handed bats here, maybe Spreaker in Justin Turner a bit. And again, I'm not touching Trevor Story. Watch him have a 3 home run night. Cubs and Mets, Tyon and Carrasco. Tyon, I think you can consider here. The Mets, obviously, they prove they're not dead yet. Alonso had 2 home runs last night, but it's just he's pretty much the only one that you really have to worry about. Like Vogelbach doesn't have the power that he's had in the past. Alvarez, I like if he's against lefty, but righty and righty, I'm fine with. Marte's back out of the lineup with injuries again. Nemo can hit, so maybe Nino, Lindor, McNeil on occasion, and Alonso, but the rest of the lineup is fine. So I think Tyon's definitely someone in the cheap. It's 6-7 here. It's a pitcher's park, even though the wind's blowing out at like I think it's 15 or 16 miles per hour, it says. I think he'll still be okay. Carlos Carrasco on the other side has had negative points the last 3 or 4 starts. He is, I don't know, like you can tell the Mets have mailed it in. Like, why is Carlos Carrasco still pitching? So he's just like a gas can punching bag, um, throwing out cookies there. So the Cubs have to be, a second favorite uh team here. I think that they've scored the most runs since the All-Star break, and they probably could go absolutely nuclear here again tonight. So love the Cubs bats. The Mets bats just be leveraged because I think Thailand will pick up some uh ownership. Blue Jays and Guardians, Kikuchi against Bibee. And Kikuchi, I think I like here just because the Cleveland offense is really watered down now, and Jose Ramirez is appealing his suspension, but that could come down today, and he could have to start serving it. So if he's out of the lineup, there's really nothing left. Kikuchi gives up home runs, but there's no power. Maybe Jimenez here, but like the rest of this like lineup is really, really bad. So I think that definitely bodes well for him and puts him in play potentially. And then on the Cleveland side against Bibee with against Toronto, they're gonna be all right-handed again. He's been decent against right-handed, so uh you know, I it's a lot to pay at 9.5. You're only paying a little bit more to get probably one of the other top pitchers. But if you can't afford it in GPP, I think he's definitely potential, and a lot of strikeouts and more towards the bottom of this lineup recently. Even with like Springer and Chapman haven't been having the seasons that you thought. So uh, I think he's in play. Bat wise, not super interested. Toronto, maybe deep GPP. Cleveland, there's super cheap pieces there to fill in, but you're looking more for them to make some contact and not really chasing home runs. Yankees and White Sox, wind blowing out here 4 miles per hour, so that's not super significant for a Chicago field. Schmidt and Trissant. Schmidt, like, he was so toted like as somebody that's going to be have a breakout year this year, and it just hasn't happened. The White Sox again are watered down. Tim Anderson is suspended, also appealing. He could be gone. He also got hit by a pitch, so it might be something where if he's kind of banged up, they just say, "Hey Tim, just start your thing." But just if you read through Twitter, this team's a hot mess. They're imploding internally. It is just a bad situation. Does that mean we play Clark Schmidt? I'll leave it up to you. I have him more in the no interest category at 7-1, but I did land on him in a couple lines as last man in for like an SP2. So not a priority, but in those GPPs, I figure what the heck. Let's try it. Trissant on the other side is really interesting here at 5-7. I know it's against the Yankees, but he's really good against righties. And there are definitely some strikeouts in this. So if he can get by like Bowers and the rest of the team is all going to be right-handed, except for if they throw in like maybe results the over Higgy at catcher. So don't really scare me a lot. And Trissant was a highly touted prospect when he came up for Atlanta, I believe, in like 18 or 19 before COVID. And I don't know what happened to him. He just kind of disappeared. Maybe his injury or something. So I think he's a sleeper. I have him as a YOLO, but who knows? We'll be need some value here if you want to play like the Brave bats and pay up for like Scherzer or Valdez, or even to stack some of the good teams or a couple good teams together. So I'm not saying he's not out of play. For bat wise, I think the Yankees just against him, I'm putting him as a top GPP, even though they're like all right-handed here. I think I thought the wind probably when I did this was blowing out a little bit more. That's probably why I have him as the top, but I think they'll have really low ownership, and the White Sox bullpen's not good at all. And then the White Sox, I think you just have some cheap fill-ins against Schmidt. But again, like they could probably pitch around some of the guys that have some power. And again, they're probably just cheap fill-ins in your lineup if it works out for you. Next up, we have Colorado and Milwaukee. Freeland and Wade Miley. Freeland, we thought he was taking a step forward, and especially outside of course. And this year, he's kind of stepped back, so not interested. Milwaukee's actually putting up some decent numbers recently, especially some of the newer guys in the bottom of the lineup haven't been bad. And Wade Miley on the other side, probably 65 to 70 pitches, maybe gets up to 75, 80. But this Rocky team is really bad. So can you get enough there? I think so, in the medium range. Again, we're looking for some value here, and I think he definitely has like win upside. I think he can make it the 5 innings and get there. Colorado bats would just be leveraged. I think Miley will have a lot of ownership just based on his price in the matchup. And Milwaukee definitely in a GPP against Freeland, but especially you've got some decent righties here. Contreras, Santana, switch hitter, Adames, Kana have they brought over from the Mets. Taylor's pretty cheap there. Monasterio, he has power and speed. Trang hit another home run last night, but it's lefty and lefty, so I don't know if he'll do it. And Weimer on the bottom of the at 2-2s have a really good season also. So a lot of cheap pieces to fill in there, if not even for a GPP. Colorado, not super interested in, but they do have some righty sets against Wade Miley. So I think maybe for some cheap fill-ins and some lineups, I might take advantage of that also. San Francisco and the Angels, Alex Wood bullpen situation, not touching that. Just hit the X button there. Giolito against San Francisco. He's been decent. He doesn't go as deep as he did with the White Sox, but he should still be okay. I mean, it's just a little bit more to get up to Scherzer, but I think if you want to get off the Scherzer ownership, he's in a decent matchup here. Yes, they'll throw some lefties against him, and yes, some the righties can hit him also, but I think he'll be fine if you want to go with Giolito. Should have a solid night here. San Francisco, they do have some cheaper parts here that you could take as one-offs against Giolito. And actually, I don't mind an Angels stack. If you take out Ohtani, especially against Wood, like Renfroe, Drury, Cron, Grichuk, Renfroe, they're not super expensive, especially on FanDuel. They work as a nice little stack. I think I got them, and then I threw in like Arizona with them and Scherzer and as a GPP line, even though Scherzer will have a lot of ownership, but the bats shouldn't. So that works. But I'm not making this game a high priority. It's definitely more of a GP play than anything. Dodgers in Arizona, Urias and Fadat. The Dodgers, they've had put up some football scores recently. They hammered San Diego on Sunday Night Baseball, and it was like 13-7 yesterday. So they're starting to hit again. I know they've been rested JT Martinez just because his back's been sore. Muncy should be back in the lineup. He DH, but he should be back at third. So they're just trying to get these guys healthy and ready to go for the playoffs. Fadat is a young pitcher, but he definitely gives up runs. So this is definitely a decent late night hammer stack for you if you want to go them as your primary stack. I don't hate that. So Arizona on the other side, I have loved Arizona this whole season. But if you haven't been paying attention recently, the last 10 games that Arizona has played, they've only scored 21 runs. That is just a little over 2 runs per game. A couple of them, they only had 1 runs. A couple of them, they had 4 runs. 4 runs has been the max. They came out of the All-Star break and put up like 14 runs. And after that, they had a couple that are about 4 runs. But I don't know what happened, but they really have not been hitting as well as they have been. Urias is decent. I like him better at home, but I think that I know they have some right-handed power here, but I think Urias will be fine against them. And I have them as 150 max. I will play Arizona stack. Like I said, I'll take the righties here. I'll probably go like Marte, or maybe I'll just kind of stick in the middle, like maybe Pham, Walker, Gurriel, Rivera, maybe a 4, maybe see if I can get 5 in there in a GPP. But again, I'm not going to be like toting them as like a good GPP or even a top stack until we see them kind of hitting again. And I think they've even starting to slip out of the playoff picture too. So hopefully they can right the ship. They're an exciting young team. We'd love to see them in the playoffs. And we'll have to see what happens there. But Dodger Bats definitely, Urias, I think, is definitely in play as my second favorite one, and a pivot off of Max if you want. And then I know Arizona is like pesky and stuff, but they just haven't been hitting a lot recently. I think this is a great chance to take advantage of Urias there. But I think, I'll definitely hedge and have an Arizona tech. Okay, a couple more games here. Rangers and Oakland, Scherzer and JP Sears. I know Scherzer came out last time, traded, gave up 3 runs early, settled in, and didn't have a bad day. I think he'll be fine against Oakland. Sears on the other side, not going to play him. He's decent, but Texas is just such a good offense here. So Texas definitely one of the top 5 stacks here, especially against a lefty. Simeon, Seager, and lefty's fine. I'd probably skip over Low. Garcia, Garver is back. I believe he had a home run yesterday, or he did really well. Actually, kind of saved my lineup. Duran, love him. I've loved him all season. I just wish he like moved up to like higher against the lefty. But if they give Loa, maybe he'll be there. And then they brought up, there's a 2K prospect here, or Melis, had decent AAA numbers. So at 2K against a lefty in Oakland, like, what do you have to lose there if you want to throw him in your stack, or just as a cheap one-off? It definitely works. Oakland on the other side against Scherzer, of course, is going to be the number 1 leverage play. Just stack the lefties here. Even throw Ruiz if he gets he's back, but he didn't get the start. But he might start at the bottom of the order against a righty. But anyways, like, just his speed in general, if he's back and good. But just take the lefties against Scherzer, and if he gives up, a bunch of runs early and gets chased, then maybe it's like something that could help you take down a GPP. And other than that, final game, we have San Diego and Seattle. Looks like Nick Martinez making a return, but he probably won't go deep, so it's probably another bullpen game. Logan Gilbert's had a good season, but San Diego is just a dangerous matchup. So just I think he's in the mid-range at 8-7, probably my least favorite pitcher. I might take like Singer and Boston over him. But again, in GPP, if you're looking for low ownership guy that could go out there and have, because San Diego we've seen struggle too recently. So I think they're still fighting for the playoffs, but I think the window's starting to close. So maybe you start seeing them rest guys and try to make a run next year. San Diego bats would just be 150 max, and same thing with Seattle. Not super interested. So let's look at some builds and get you on your way for your day here. Definitely taking Max. Second base, I'm going to take some of the cheap Texas guys as fill-ins here. Morenius or Schneider from the Blue Jays. They're both almost mid-price. Devers, I want the Boston stack here, so I'll let you see who you want to pick at first base there. Catcher probably going to punt, and I couldn't resist going with Duran. Great 80s band. But Duran from Texas, shortstop. Duran, Boston outfield, Yoshida, and I'll let you pick who you want for your final one there. FanDuel, Max, Turner, or Cassis at first base. And then I'm going to use the Colorado here, but you can also throw in Milwaukee. There's so many different cheaper stacks to throw in there with Max and Boston. So I just took B-Rod and Tovar against the lefty here. But I'm pretty much, it's going to be for Boston, and then whatever cheap line you want to put in as your secondary stack. For GPP, give me Talion as my SP 2. I'll let you pick who your SP one is there. A lot of time GPPs, I'll build my lineup with the bats, and then I'll see who's left and then tinker around and get who I want there. I usually don't sometimes prioritize the SP1 if I have a solid SP2 that I want to go after. So catcher, I'll let you pick, but I am going with a stack of the Cubs and the Yankees. but there's so many other teams. If you want to go Cubs Milwaukee here, or there's lots of great. Pittsburgh is another one that said like is cheap and the lefties in a good spot. So, but focusing on the Cubs here, and I can get a nice one with Cubs and the Yankees, and the SP2 I landed on, I was very happy with. So that's home with that. In GPP, give me Wade Miley, and again, it's Cubs and Yankees. Bellinger, Torres, pick who you want for third base. Swanson, Judge, Happ is where I'm going. So I got, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat below. Hit me up at MegaRow31 on Twitter. If these videos continue to help us back, like the video, subscribe to our channel so you know when all our videos are coming out, and share with your friends, as you've been doing a great job of. So I really appreciate that. And again, one more information on FSi DFS, sign up for free preseason football. Check out the description video and the link to the website there. So hope you have a great Tuesday. Good luck in your contest. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me, and we'll see you next time.